Morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. But yes, good morning, one and all. Like I say, welcome to yet another very, very cold morning. I think we are maybe -2, maybe -1 at the moment. So yeah, it's a bit cold. Catho G, good morning to you. Like I say, it's definitely a cold one. Like I say, I'm wrapped up, raring, waiting to go. But indeed. Like I say, you'd be confusing me for a pony. The amount of times I'm going brr. But yes, as always, guys, like I say, welcome, one and all, to the Good Morning Walk. Like I say, settle in, get your breakfast. Remember to hit the like and share button as you're coming in. Like I say, it helps out, get more people in. Pretty Bird, greetings to you. Like I say, it's one of those mornings where it's definitely very, very, very cold. Whew. But no snow as of yet. It has tried a couple of times to snow so far, but nothing yet. Stu K, good evening to you. Good evening. Like I say, welcome one and all. Like I say, welcome to yet another, as always, fantastic Good Morning Walk. Welcome, as I've said, get yourselves in, get your coffees, get your brews, get your blankets, wrap yourselves up, and ready for a good old Good Morning Walk. Like I say, remember to hit the like and share button on your way in. Like I say, it helps get more people in. If I had my llama hat, I could pass as a stealth pony. That's very true. Maybe I could. You've got a pasty? Oh, jealous. I never have my breakfast before I come and down and do this. I've got my breakfast waiting for me when I get home. So yeah, I'm going to look forward to that. But oh my, and Morrison's one. Oof. Can't go wrong with the Morrison's pasty. I'll agree with you there. You cannot go wrong with the Morrison's pasty. Yes, like I say, it's a lovely, snowy, cold morning this morning. But yes, where to begin? Oh, that's right. Shall we? Tell you what, we'll start off with some classic Trump nonsense. What a better place to begin than a Good Morning Walk with some classic Trump nonsense. So, Cavalan, good morning to you. Farm fresh jambons. That sounds like a very, very interesting breakfast. But yes, those of you who may remember, and certainly veterans of the Good Morning Walk, will always remember, we started the Good Morning Walk back in the day. We always used to start and kick off, because obviously Trump was in power when we started doing the Good Morning Walk. We always used to start off with some good, shall we say, Trump nonsense. And it's been sort of, like I said this week, there's certain things you can miss sometimes about leaders, even the bad ones. And, as I said this week, I think I miss Boris Johnson's almost effortlessly way he used to come forward with some insane infrastructure ideas. So the roundabout, or turn the Isle of Wight into a massive roundabout, that was certainly one. But Trump has come out with some stuff, and as you can see already in chat, yeah, Trump is now selling NFTs. And of course, for those of you who don't know what an NFT stands for, it stands for a non-fungible token. And for those of you who don't even know what that is, it's probably confused you even further. But basically, just imagine it as a GIF. A GIF that apparently there is only meant to be one of, and that you own to yourself. And Trump has released a couple of 100,000 of these. So to help apparently fund his next presidential campaign. And this apparently has not gone down well with many in his audience, which is quite surprising. But then again, that seems to be the way that things are going in America. At the moment, Trump seems to be losing a lot of power, certainly with his own audience. They've sold out. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, crypto has crashed and Trump's setting up his own NFTs. Well, that'll be the next big crash. Yeah, $99 for essentially a GIF. That's what his audience is essentially paying for. Yup, Demeter, good morning to you. His audience is sheepled. They think what Murdoch tells them to. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. But I think the bigger core problem there is just people are just so disillusioned, I think that's the large part of the problem. But a max purchase of 100 to keep it under 100k. Jesus. I mean, the thing is, since he left office, he's been constantly pulling scams like this, trying to get as much, certainly milk as much money from his audience as he can. He sent out a massive email, if you remember, when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, saying that, he needed this for his legal defense, but there's again no evidence that he's actually put the money towards that. There's so many things that he's done since leaving office, and to be honest, you can't blame him, because he is certainly going into office. He was, I think, the most he was the president with the most legal issues going into one. Thank you very much. Have a tea or a mulled wine. Thank you very much, Yumika. Thank you very much for that indeed. I certainly will later on today, that is for sure. But thank you very much for your support there, as always, guys. So, I think he really needs it for his legal fees. Still in legal jeopardy. Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to be funny when some of these actually start really kicking off and actually going into court, because some of these are going to be interesting. Oh, Michael Mail, good morning. For a very snowy day in Denmark. I'm not surprised it's snowing there. I'm not surprised it's snowing there. But yeah, that's Trump's, and he's still legal troubles, and you can still tell he's still trying to raise money, because I think he knows he's potentially got a lot of money to lose from that. I think that's going to hurt him quite a lot. I mean, the most interesting one out of all of them, I think the one that's certainly going to hurt him the most is the one from New York, where they're going after like his business and his tax returns and a lot of stuff in and around that. That, I think, certainly has the one and potential really to do the most damage to him. But I know there are hundreds of others out there that are floating around. So we'll have to see. But like I say, if he runs again for president, then, legal immunity for another 4 years. What are his chances of winning? Who knows? Who knows? You've still got, obviously, the issue in America of does the sort of Republican establishment back Trump, or do they back DeSantis, which is sort of more the guy that they want? The biggest problem, of course, is that a lot of, shall we say, Republican supporters want Trump instead of DeSantis. Oh, Colin, good morning from Ireland. You're walking your dog and listening to me. Well, good morning. And I hope you're having a fantastic walk as well. Like I say, anyone else who's having a walk this morning, like I say, please do remember to hit the like and share button as well. And, share the love. And like I say, I hope you're wrapped up warm. Because I think Ireland's probably just as cold as we are at the moment. It's over here. Demeter, he's losing to DeSantis, or at least in some polls, 52 to 38. Oof. Yeah. That's going to be devastating for Trump if he loses. Oh. No, good morning. Enjoy your walk. Don't worry, I am, as always. JL, no, you're fine and warm inside, and Stu K, you've got the lounge. You're in your lounge under a duvet. Well, I can't blame you. To be honest, like I say, it's -3, I think, at the moment. Over here, might be -3, -2, something like that. Getting through the cold to get some coffee. Yeah. That is the case. Oh. But something else I wanted to update our people on, because we haven't really updated people in a while. Obviously, I said we'd be keeping an eye on it. The situation in Ukraine. The situation in Ukraine is obviously, still the war goes on, but it gets worse for Russia, especially going into winter. And, I may be complaining about the cold here, but in Ukraine, it gets cold. It gets cold in Ukraine. And as we've seen a lot for the past couple of months, Russian soldiers basically not having any equipment, old rifles, faulty equipment, not enough of it, and in this case is almost next to no winter gear. And certainly in that part of the world, it can get cold, down to beyond -10. And like I say, when you get sort of beyond that level, that's the level where it will start to really, shall we say, general winter will start to kick in really harshly at that point. Not that it's already kicking in over there for this. So that is going to be certainly a big advantage to the Ukrainians, because they're far, far more well supplied than certainly the Russians in this case. Latest Russian screw up, yeah. We're sending out soldiers with World War II helmets and body armor without metal plates, yeah. Yeah, and like I say, yeah, Russian families being told, yeah, you need to supply winter equipment, That'll be like going into any work and just going, okay, you need to buy your own laptop and computer. Loki's children, good morning to you. Yeah, the winter war. This is what a lot of people are saying that this war is potentially going to be like. And then, of course, you've got the Bakhmut. That's where it seems to be all kicking off at the moment. Oh, Crowban, good morning to you. It seems that the Wagner Group are determined that that is where they are going to score a win. And you may remember we've seen videos of certainly the Wagner commander going into prisons and getting inmates out of those prisons, and they are now being used in there as essentially human wave, just cannon fodder, just throwing them at sort of at this city in an attempt to take it. And as a lot of people have said, they're throwing lives away pointlessly because that town has next to no strategic value. So they're wasting thousands of lives in trying to take this city. And those soldiers could be, shall we say, better used elsewhere. But then again, this is sort of the Russian military that apparently was meant to be, as many people, even, you know, when all this started myself, this was like, you know, oh wow, Russian military, one of meant to be, you know, the best in, you know, certainly one of like the sort of the best, quote, in the world, and yet they failed spectacularly over what was meant to be a very short campaign. And like I say, we're coming up to a year of this war going on. And they haven't had any sort of significant victories, but far more significant setbacks. And even now, potentially during this winter, there is an opportunity that Ukraine may score another very dramatic win. So ultimately, as we've said, Putin's going to lose. I mean, one of the big things that he's done, I don't know if you've heard, Putin normally at the end of the year has this massive, like, marathon, like 3 to 4 hour speech to like, you know, on TV, saying this has been, you know, the year, you know, how fantastic my year has been. And this is the first year ever he's not doing it. So there are problems. Even he knows, even he recognizes the problem of this. But yeah, this is going, shall we say, not as he planned, at least not as he hoped. And to be honest, good. Like I say, the Ukrainians are certainly giving him a kicking, and it's a well-deserved one, to say for that. Of course, we'll have to see what happens, of course, in the coming year. But needless to say, it does look like the Ukrainians are on, certainly, course for a significant victory. Which is, to be honest, what we want. So, British politics, because that's why you're all here. British politics. So we're coming up to... We're coming up to the end of the year. And I've said for my Pony Club members that in certainly a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to do a video just for them. My highlights of the year. Let's listen to Christmas. We need to talk about your rejoin video. Chiggly Wiggly, good morning. Good morning to you. Fantastic name. left your highlights in the chat. But anyway, yes, as you know, we've been constantly talking about these Tory rebellions, and there's already at least 2 in the works, both of them related to Brexit, unsurprisingly, because you've got the ERG going to kick off about the Brexit bill, which is certainly going to be an interesting fight. Like I said, I did a video about them last week. They're gearing up for a fight about the Brexit bill. They are ready for a scrap about it. So that's certainly one interesting fight to see. And of course, they're also preparing for a fight which, interestingly enough, has split the Brexiteers. Because even they're like, yeah, this EU revocation reform bill that's meant to get rid of like over 4,000 laws. No, thanks for summarising the latest political news this morning. I just switched to watching you on my TV. Oh, well, thank you very much, Noel. Thank you very much. Like I say, you get to see the beautiful sights of South Yorkshire on your full screen TV. Daisy, there we go. So, and it's not just those 2. You've got a potential net zero rebellion coming up. You've got certainly going to be a big fight about sort of the whole NIMBYism, YIMBYism debate still raging going on in the Tory party. There's going to be a big fight about, certainly next year, what to do about inflation. Because, like I say, Sunak's and Hunt's strategy for dealing with inflation was to just, cross your fingers and hope that, well, it goes away. And of course, you can't really do that. And really, the problems with the British economy are very, very deeply ingrained. Very much so. The problems we have with our current British economy, I can't tell if it's raining or not. I keep on feeling like things on my face. So I'm like, oh, is it raining? Is it snowing? So yeah, the problems with the British economy are very, very long in the tooth and have been going on for quite some time. And the fact that even now, all our current problems are really coming to a head with this. So a lot of people have talked about very recently how the era of the low-wage economy is coming to an end. Even potentially the gig economy is coming to an end. That this might not be able to survive these, coming disasters. So this is sort of very, economics based. So I've been listening and sort of looking at a lot of, there we go. So I've been listening and looking at a lot of what, economists are saying about, the British economy, because that is going to certainly feature very, very big, a big talking point next year. And if you saw Question Time not question, this week, yeah, question time, yeah. Just this week, in fact, you had big questions being asked. Like, how are you going to, achieve this growth that you talk about when, you haven't got a plan for achieving growth? And it's very, very similar, because I've said before, I work in sort of, marketing and digital marketing, sort of that area. And I've come across businesses with the exact same idea of, we'll be on Facebook because, that's where you've got to be, or on Twitter or wherever. And then you ask them the question of, well, why are you there? And then they go, well, because we've got to be there. And it's the exact same response you see in all this. So there's some very, very very much home-baked, shall we say, excuses built into this. A lot of sort of the inflation argument is still very much, oh, this isn't a UK problem. This is still a COVID problem. It's still, Russia's war in Ukraine. All these are imported problems that we're dealing with. Don't worry, once those are over, it'll all be, it'll all be done. But the thing is, as we said pretty much every time we've covered this, the further we get away from the pandemic, the less that's going to wash as an excuse. And, the war in Ukraine isn't going to last forever. That will come to an end soon as well. And then you've got to look at other people's economies in the G20. The fact that they're doing far, far better than us with these exact same problems. So at some point, even the Tories are going to have to go, well, maybe some of the problems are here. And of course, you've got all these strikes going on at the moment, and the list of people going on strikes is ever increasing. Of course, we've got a rail strike on at the moment. I don't know if the nurses are on strike. Is it today or is it next week they go on strike? I can't remember now. But all these strikes, essentially by government workers, are by these people because they've had next to no pay rise or wage increase for years. So they've basically had enough at this point. Oh, Sean, good morning to you. Like I say, welcome. So you've got a lot of people at this point who are just like, well, you know what, it is time to strike. For a good and decent wage. And I can't blame anyone for doing that. I think it's the right thing to do, and the right actions to do. But you see now that the government has been actively involved trying to, shall we say, scupper up these strikes. In fact, one attack ad this week that came out from the I don't know if you've seen it, from the Tory party. It's kind of funny because it's backfired so badly. Is they tried to blame Keir Starmer for these strikes, as if, you know, Starmer has been, you know. And the thing is, you know, yeah, I do criticise Labour's strategy over this, but I in a way, I also do understand Starmer's point of, you know, yes, we sort of back the strikes, but, you know, we're not going to be on any picket line. I think that's a bit disappointing, to be honest. I think, you know, certainly now, I really think Labour should be putting their full weight behind the strikes. But again, I do understand sort of the political repercussions that might cause on those, you know, on those fronts. I think I saw someone in chat say something about a general strike. Well, I've said it, you know, a couple of times now. It might not be official, but it certainly feels like we're in a general strike, or at least heading in that direction. So, depending on obviously how the next, I think, couple of months go, and if the government certainly gives in to any of these strikers, obviously, if you've given in to one, you've got to give in to the other. And certainly, the government has been hiding behind the independent pay review boards. You know, because that's what deals with their sort of these pay issues. And all of these general review boards have said, yeah, we want to give, you know, workers a pay rise. And in some cases, you know, it hasn't been enough. And I agree in that, you know, these pay boards need to really look again, really at what's going on, the situation that we're in, and generally giving these people, you know, a fair wage increase. And I do not think it's beyond the realms of possibility for the government to be able to actually be able to do that. But of course, if it does want to do that, it would really have to go certainly to raise taxes. But of course, whose taxes do you raise? And the thing is, we've talked before on this channel about a wealth tax, that if you had like a it's something ridiculous like 0.01% of a wealth tax, it would bring in so much money. You could cover not only the NHS, but also the social services budget as well for an entire year. Exactly, Cathoji. Yeah, that's another thing that we should really sort of put to the Brexiteers, that, hey, wasn't this meant to increase wages? I mean, that's one. But the other thing we've got to keep an eye on is if the civil servants decide to go on strike. Because I think that could be certainly the biggest one, because civil servants haven't had a pay rise in over 10 years. So if they decide to go on strike, that will certainly be interesting. Did you see Jonathan's pie videos on striking the Tories, gaslighting surrounding it? It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, they have been major gaslighting all these strikes. Because again, they don't want to give in to them. And even if Sunak did give in to them, he'd have a problem he'd probably get a Tory rebellion on this. Yeah, exactly, no. The fact that it's just a 0.01% wealth tax on these people, and it would bring in billions of pounds, it just goes to show you there is wealth out there. They just won't go after it. I mean, if they get rid of the non-dom status, that would bring in millions of pounds as well. So there are ways to bring in the money. It's just that every way that there is, the Tories don't want to do it. Because as the Conservatives will proudly say, we are the, quote, low tax party. And you may remember during the Boris years, Johnson was constantly criticised by other Tories for saying that he's got too high a tax. Because if the civil servants go on strike, doesn't that effectively shut down the government? Yes and no. Like I say, civil servants, when they strike, they have to sort of generally maintain a working sheet. So there might be a skeleton crew, shall we say, in the departments, but they'll work, because you can't literally have the government just shut down and not work for a day. That would be an absolute disaster. So even the civil servants, when they go on strike, they've said, well, even if we want to go on strike, there will be at least a minimum service so that, government services will run. You might have a bit of a tougher time maybe, getting through on that day, but, the services will run. So that is certainly one group of people we've got to keep an eye on, because I think if they go on strike, it will really just go to show you how deep a problem there really is. You've also got the firefighters. I think January, it is when they go on strike. I think. But there's a lot more strikes coming down the line. A lot more. And I think there's a lot of people saying, quite rightly so, will these be what brings down Sunak? Is this what happened to the Labour government in the late 70s? And it's... there are certainly similarities. There are certainly similarities between it. But obviously, in the 70s, there was a general election around the corner. And for us, they don't have to have a general election until January of 2025. So, a general election is a long way off. But certainly these strikes for Sunak are certainly death by 1,000 cuts. And the fact that Sunak has absolutely no political capital, and we've talked about this many times before, Sunak is the leader of the Conservative Party with a very sizable majority, and yet he can do next to nothing in this parliament without rebellions taking place. Just look at what happened when they tried to undo the onshore wind farm ban. The Net Zero group kicked off and said, well, if you give them that, we want that coal mine in Cumbria. And hence they got a coal mine in Cumbria. The party is just completely ungovernable. And it will be, I think, a very significant Tory rebellion that takes him out. And the worrying thing, well, it's not really worrying. I think it's more the sheer desperation, of course, is you look at the polls. Poll after poll after poll after poll. We've had 2 by-elections since Sunak, which the Tories are desperately trying to say, oh, they don't count, they don't count. Where Labour are showing massive majorities. There was, I think, a poll done recently where I think Labour would have like a 426 seat majority. But of course, we can't be complacent in these numbers, as I've always said. Starmer has to give something people to vote for, and I think he really has with that constitutional review that Gordon Brown did. Getting rid of the House of Lords. That is radical. That is good, and it's something that needs to go desperately. Best of all would be that the Tories go on a very long strike. Yeah. They've been on strike since Bodger was in charge. One useless leader after another. Yeah. Very true, Larry. Very true. Ooh, there we go. So, I mean, these rebellions are certainly going to be damaging to him. He has absolutely no political room to manoeuvre. Yes, thanks to the cat, a majority of 400 plus. Yeah, exactly. This is, like I say, these are the polls. And in fact, I've got a video coming out today where we're going to be looking at and talking about the fact that the Conservatives are potentially going to lose every single seaside seat. And remember, these seats in 2016 heavily supported the Tories for Brexit. They voted heavily for Brexit. And then they really got put their weight behind Johnson in 2019. So the fact that all these coastal seats, and we're talking all these coastal seats, like I say, the video comes out this afternoon, 12 o'clock, so, you know, see you there. You know, it's pretty staggering. It is pretty staggering. But as I've said before, we've got to make sure that, you know, Labour, you know, really gives it a push. And I think that, you know, the House of Lords reform is fantastic. So, you know, and like I said, we've said before, you know, Labour policy is, at the moment, it's headed in a good direction. You know, Rachel Reeves is set to be the greenest Chancellor we've ever had. And it will be fantastic if she does get in. You've got Ed Miliband, Business Secretary, who wants to give unions more power. You know? You've got, again, the House of Lords reform. I cannot, you know, stop saying, you know, people say, oh, what's Starmer about? What's he going to do? Well, House of Lords reform is fantastic. It's about time we had a second elected house. And this is something that the left needs to get behind. You know, we need to get behind it, because if we don't, then it'll get formed and we'll have had no say in it. And then people will complain on the left that, oh, this new second chamber is bad or whatever. And my only response is going to be to these people, did you help support it? What did you do to help support this reform, to, you know, get involved, to help shape it? Yeah, proportional representation, that's it. And that's the other thing I would really hope, that the campaign for proportional representation, really gets behind on all this. Because they need to put, certainly for the time being, they need to put House of Commons reform on the back burner, just for the time being, because if the polls are going the way that we want, and we want to really reform the House of Lords, then Labour needs that majority. If it gets that majority, House of Lords reform is going to be an absolute walk in the park. And that's what we really need. Because this is going to be a very, very much a big constitutional fight. Certainly the Conservatives are going to be against it, up in arms against it. So we've got to make sure that that Lords reform goes through. So if you've got a Labour MP, write to them and urge them, make sure that that is in the next Labour manifesto, and especially express to them the fact that it should be elected by proportional representation. Because if it is, we will have finally gotten rid of a massive medieval pain in the ass. The House of Lords reform should have been gotten rid of a long time ago. It's just unfortunate that every single time, or at least the past 2 times that we've gone for it, certainly when Blair tried to reform it, he did manage to get rid of some of the lifelong peers, but the problem was people didn't get behind the full reform to sort of abolish it and get rid of it, so it got dropped. When the Lib Dems tried it under the Tory coalition, the Tories basically threatened to rebel, and it was dropped. So this is something we have to keep the pressure up on, or else we don't get it. But yes, we're coming to our end of our good morning walk this morning. Whoop. Morning. So he is very much your elusive snow pony. Like I say, we didn't see any today. I'll try and. This is it. I can't bend down in my ways. I haven't got the dexterousness in my knees. Why is almost no talking about that £73 billion of waste? I'm guessing you're talking about the PPE. Again, if Labour gets in, this is again another reason why you want Labour, a Labour majority, because if Labour gets in, Angela Rayner has already stated a number of times there will be an inquiry into the PPE scandal alone, and they will go after people. So you want, again, a Tory majority so that Labour can get that through. So there you go. Bit more pony for you. Oh, Alexander, good morning to you. So the thing is with that Ben, that's a bogus argument, because you can still have a that house full of experts. Just because the House of Lords, shall we say, has people full with an expert advice is no reason to not go forward with it. Because for every good person you have in the House of Lords that might be like a constitutional expert, a scientist, or anything like that, there are several more bad people like Michelle Maloney. And there is many, many more. Trust me, the House of Lords, full of corruption. But, oh, yes, thank you very much, Cathal OG. Thank you very much for your support there. Oh. It's had enough now. It's had enough. But, yes, as always, guys, like I say, thank you so much for the support, like I say, that you show. Thank you very much for coming along today and watching. Like I say, please do remember to hit that like and share button, and of course, if you are new, hit that subscribe button to see more videos on British politics, to get updates when I go live and do things like this, the Good Morning Walk. There is the YouTube thank you button down below. You can also join the Pony Club as well. Like I say, I do a weekly video for my Pony Club guys as well as the people on Patreon. This week I will be doing my review of the year, which is only going to be for the Pony Club members. So if you want to join sort of the Pony Club, like I say, links down below in the YouTube stuff, or you can join on Patreon as well, and you'll get the video as well. So, as always, thank you very much for coming along and joining us today, guys. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for coming along. It's been a cold one, as always, but, you know, tis the season, as they say, to be a bit frozen, as we say in Yorkshire. So, as we always say, guys, thank you very much for coming along and joining me. Do remember to hit the like and share button on your way out. Remember to leave a comment down below, because that helps out with all the algorithmical stuff and things like that. And as always, guys, will I see you next week for a morning walk? I don't know, but I'll let you know. But as always, guys, thank you very much for joining. And of course, we'll see you all next time for another Good Morning Walk.